Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking live at a first-timer event. It's the Thoughts from the Shade podcast, boys. They're in the house tonight. Guys, I have been awful, just absolutely awful picking college football games. I'm probably 2 for 50. I'm hearing good things from you guys. I know you guys are giving out winners. You're laser focused. It looks like Bomb over here. He's like coaching Ohio State this weekend or something. So I know you guys are dialed in. I had to bring you guys in. This was a long time coming. Ladies and gentlemen, the Thoughts from the Shade podcast, boys. Bomb and G. How we feeling, guys?
Happy to be here, Maniac. Like you said, long time coming, and really appreciate you having us on. And hopefully we can help you out with your struggles here in the early season.
Yeah, you guys, I really need help. That's for sure. Bomb, how you feeling?
Maniac, thanks for having us on. I will say I thought this would have happened closer to week 7 or week 8 before the season started, but then I saw you go all in on Nebraska at Colorado, and I thought, oh my God, this guy's in trouble.
Hey, if Jeff Sims doesn't decide to just forget how to play football, that game might have been a little bit closer.
Can we clarify something? I referred to Sims as Lamar Light, just based off the look, Maniac. Would you say that's a fair comp?
I would say that is a more than fair comp.
Okay.
Oh, man,
He's
doing
awful.
him dirty, man. He's a Heisman
awful.
guy.
He is not a Heisman guy. The Heisman contenders, they're in the Pac-12.
That's facts.
All the Heisman quarterbacks, they are in the Pac-12. They have the best quarterback conference of all.
Conference of Champions, Maniac.
The Conference of Champions. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, what is what's this artwork you got in the background? It's really nice. I got to hear.
So this is actually an item from my grandfather, the late Jerry J. He was a musician and an entertainer for years, playing the piano for the members at Aronimink Golf Club. So this is a piece of memorabilia. It's 49 of 250 that were made. It's the old 9th and 17th holes, or 9th and 17th. I was going to say 9th and 14th. 9th and 17th holes at Aronimink. Never played it. Probably never will. But that's, that's why we're here. We're just the working man's pod, giving out picks and trying to make some dough for the people.
Well, without further ado, this is how we're going to do it. We're each going to give a pick, 12 o'clock games, afternoon 3 o'clock games, and prime time 7:30 games. I'm going to go to Bomb first. Bomb, who's your 12 o'clock pick of the week?
Yeah, Maniac. No, I appreciate this. This is a little different than what we've been doing this year. G and I have been laser focused, picking one game a week. So we got to pick 3 this week. I'm 3-0 so far in the year, but things can turn quickly. I got a 12 o'clock winner for you here, though.
I got to hear
Oklahoma at Cincinnati. Oklahoma, they're coming north. They're laying 14.5. And if you blink, you'll miss this rivalry, right? This is Cincinnati's first game in the Big 12. It's Oklahoma's last year in the conference before they head off to the SEC to get their doors blown off by Texas, Alabama, Georgia every single freaking year. But a lot of people are looking at this OU team, Maniac, and they're saying, look at this offense, all the stress they put on the defense. And then they look over across the way at Cincinnati and they go, not so good. They lost the rivalry game against Miami of Ohio. And a lot of people are saying, take the points. Not me. Not me. I should say a lot of people are saying, lay the points. I'm taking the damn points. Even though it's not Nippert at night. Take Cincinnati. Your brain here is thinking this is Oklahoma of the early 2000s. Now, the quarterback at Oklahoma, I have a big issue with, Maniac. Does he look good? Do the numbers look good? Yes, he does. But you can't tell me that this guy is like the prototypical Oklahoma quarterback. He's a little 5'0", left-handed side slinger. I mean, this isn't Jason White. Sam Bradford's not walking through that door. Cincinnati's not afraid of this little guy. In fact, when he was at UCF, they knocked him off twice. 2019 and 2020. 4 defenders from that 2020 team remain on the roster. They'll be ready. They'll be ready for the tempo. Additionally, on offense, Maniac, Cincinnati, top 5 in the country in time of possession. So take the points, 14.5. Cincinnati's the pick.
Wow. We are getting into the weeds here.
Bearcats.
Gee, how are you going to follow this up? What is your lock of the week? 12 o'clock games. Let me hear it.
That's really tough to follow. Obviously, the guy's undefeated in the early season, but I'm 2-1. Only lost on the Tide against the Longhorns. Learned my lesson there. We'll talk more about that game later, I think. But
You know what they say, though, G? Big tree fall hard.
big treat, and they did. They fell real hard at home against the Longhorns, who were shooting up their rankings. But we talk a lot about on our show, and outside group text with a few privileged members about a team that is 3-0 against the spread this season, covering by an average margin of 15 points, and they are headed to Ann Arbor on Saturday at 12 o'clock to take on the second-ranked Michigan Wolverines, and I'm talking about a local team, a local favorite, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, led by Coach Greg Schiano and the Chop. This team will be ready to play. They will be ready to go. As I've mentioned, they've dominated an early schedule. And you look at this Michigan team, they played Bowling Green last week. J.J. McCarthy, their quarterback, we saw him mess around against TCU in that playoff game last year, turning the ball over. 3 picks against Bowling Green last week. Michigan only led by a score of 14-6 at halftime. They're messing around. I know they got Harbaugh back. Maybe that gives them some life with him coming off the suspension. I highly doubt it. They did the big flying V or ducks fly together week 1 to honor Coach Harbaugh. I think it's all nonsense. Give me the Scarlet Knights plus 24. It's a very low total of 44. I find it hard for a team like Michigan that's been horsing around against really weak competition in this early going to cover that number with such a low total. So I'll go the Scarlet Knights plus 24. We're going to ride the Scarlet Knights this season until they don't cover the number.
Wow. We're taking points early. On the 12 o'clock game. So now that comes to me. Florida State, Clemson. Quarterback. Who's the quarterback for Clemson? Who is it?
Cade Klubnik.
Sucks.
We thought they were upgrading, getting rid of DJU, but apparently not.
And not at all.
And the way he's
Not
looked, I mean, you'd have to think maybe it's Clemson. You thought, and they upgraded at OC apparently, but.
And Bob, I'm going to ask you, who's the quarterback for Florida State?
13.
Travis.
I call them by numbers. I mean, as an older guy getting up there,
13.
You throw the visor on, you throw the pullover on. You just call out the numbers, Maniac. 13.
I'm going to take 13 on the road, going into Clemson. Give me Florida State minus 2.5. I think they get it done. Clemson, they're not the Clemson we grew up with the last couple years. Dabo, hate the face. This is going to be one I'm going to watch, one I'm going to root for. I like Florida State. You mentioned the Chop earlier. I think they're going to be doing the...
It's a chop pod, baby.
It's a chop hop. Give me Florida
Is it a
State.
chop parlay? Can you parlay those games? I mean, it might be looking at a chop parlay.
Hey, put those 3 together. You'll be sitting pretty for the 3:30 ball games, and that's going to bring us to our next set of picks. We're going to start with G on this one. G, who you got?
3:30.
3:30 game lock.
I talked about the big tree that fell hard in week 2 in the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are hosting Jackson Dart, Lane Kiffin, and the Ole Miss Rebels in Tuscaloosa at 3:30 Saturday, and they're laying 7. I like Ole Miss, and you're going to see a common theme here with my picks. Ole Miss is another team that is 3-0 against the spread in this early season, covering by an average margin of 14 points. And you look at that Texas-Alabama game. How did Texas kind of take apart that Alabama defense with a lot of shots? Ole Miss has a quarterback in Jackson Dart who's grabbed a stranglehold of that starting job. They brought in some competition in the offseason to push him. I think he's responded well. He can push the ball down the field. Ole Miss has 3 wide receivers, I believe, that are averaging over 19 yards per catch. So they're going to be able to push that ball down the field. I look for Dart to make some plays with his legs as well. And then on the other side, you got to look at this Alabama team. We talked about it on our show this week. What's going on at quarterback? Jalen Milroe starts the year, obviously struggles against Texas. They play Buckner. They play Simpson against USF in what was a glorified scrimmage. and they didn't show well. So they go back to Milroe this week. A lot of instability at that position, a lot of instability along the offensive line. And I think Ole Miss has a pretty solid defensive line that could cause some trouble up front for the Tide on offense. So I'll take the 7 points. I don't want to go outright, but I think Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin keep this tight in Tuscaloosa.
Is there any better name in football for a quarterback than Dart?
He's going to be dropping darts on Saturday. I'll tell you that.
He's going to be dropping darts on Saturday. I like them outright even. I think Lane Kiffin gets the best of the
it would be it would be a big fall from grace. And the other thing about Alabama, I think, you look at that team the last couple of years. I know they made the playoff and the championship 2 years ago with Bryce Young, and they lose. And then last year, obviously losing in the no, they didn't make the SEC championship. I stand corrected, but I think Bryce Young was able to cover up some of the shortcomings of this Alabama team as a whole. And I think they've been on this little bit of a slide for a few years coming, and it's really starting to rear its ugly head, and people are just kind of catching on to it now. But I think this Bama team's kind of been in decline for a few years now.
First time they've been outside of the top 10 in how long? And I think you might be on
2015.
something there.
I think 2015.
Let's go Rebels.
Let's do
Bomb.
it.
Hell
Let's
yeah,
hear it.
damn
What's
right,
your
as they say
3:30
in Oxford.
lock?
Maniac, I think you know where I'm going. I'm going to a program that I love. I'm going to a team that I gave out last year for the season total in wins. That hit. I'm going to the Bruins, UCLA. They're going to Utah. Utah's favored by about 4.5 points as of this recording. And you know what everyone's going to say? Utah's a physical team. They've been known as a physical team. They can run the football, blah, blah, blah. When the average bettor thinks of Chip Kelly, you don't really think about physical football because we're so tarnished by the way things went down in Philadelphia. Well, I got news for you, Maniac. This guy's morphed into Mr. Physicality at UCLA. You know I'm
Big
a
people
Chip
beat up
Kelly
little
guy. People. Big people beat up little people. You know what I mean? You know I'm a Chip Kelly guy in college. I'm a UCLA guy. His run defense this year, granted they haven't really played anybody outside of Coastal, averaging about 2 yards a pop. So they're able to stop the run. They're taking that run defense on the road. On offense, they've been rejuvenated. They have a big 5-star quarterback who looks like a stud, this kid Dante Moore. He's starting his first road game. What are we looking for on the Utah side? There's talk about Cam Rising returning from his ACL 8 months after the injury. All I can tell you, Maniac, the last time a quarterback rushed back from an ACL 2 to 3 weeks after the beginning of the season, Carson Wentz, the road team covered. Okay, the Colts covered that game. They were getting 6. They even had a chance to win it at the end. I know I'm talking NFL. I know I'm talking college. Give me the Bruins. Give me Chip Kelly. Take the points.
I like it. I like it a lot. Big Chip Kelly guy. So that comes to my 3:30 game. And this one's kind of near and dear to my heart because probably one of the first college football games I ever went to was seeing the Miami Hurricanes go up against the Temple Owls at Franklin Field. Me and my pops went to that game. I think those were the days of Willis McGahee. And they absolutely trashed them. Probably like 62-0, something along those lines. Miami used to beat the brakes off of Temple back in the day when they were in the same conference. It's a rivalry renewed.
Oh, my God.
It's a 24-point spread. Give me the Hurricanes! Minus 24 up against the lowly Owls. I think this is a rocking chair game by the third quarter. I think the Hurricanes roll large over the
I like it,
Owls.
Maniac. I like
You
it.
like
I
that
think
one?
that Miami, I think that Miami team is trending in a solid direction. Cristobal's got the boys fired up. And Temple was one of those teams that took an L straight up and against the spread against our Scarlet Knights. So I think Miami's a little step up in class from Rutgers. So look for Miami. I like the pick.
Yeah, and
They struggled
Maniac.
with Akron week 1.
Temple's a team I've been fading with some in games. Ever since I saw
fade them.
religiously fading because I saw them in like, what was it? Gee, we were texting about it. Mid-August. They go to Taryn Hatcher in the middle of the Phillies game, and they're interviewing Temple's coach, and all the players are sitting there at the game, and he's talking about how the players earned it. And I thought to myself, I don't think Nick Saban's sitting at a Phillies baseball game 2 weeks before opening kick. So I made it a point to bet against Temple.
I like it. So it's a fade Temple. Keep fading them all year long. And that's going to bring us to the nightcap. 7 o'clock games. I got one for you guys. Kind of teases this one leading into the program. Cam Ward. I love this guy. Washington State goes up against Oregon State. We touched on Clemson a little bit. That quarterback is terrible. They've got a good defense. I've been watching a little Washington State. Saw them beat up on Wisconsin. Very, very surprised by that. I think we're going to be looking at a Cougs money line outright victory over Oregon State. Cougs. Give me the Cougs. Give me Cam Ward outright over Oregon State. That's my lock for 7 o'clock games.
Can I just say, I think like this slate is so unreal for Saturday, and hopefully, Maniac, I'm not sitting in a desk chair. I'm sitting in a nice lazy boy like you are there in the studio for 12 hours on Saturday. But I think this Oregon State-Washington State game might be one of the best of the day, despite it not being two of the sexiest teams. I like this Oregon State team a lot in the trenches. Big offensive line, tough physical, can run the football. And then you talked about kind of the explosiveness of Wazoo. It should make for a great matchup.
The Pac-12, it's been surprising this year.
They're good.
Some good football.
Man. The question is going to be,
continues.
Yeah, the SEC's been terrible.
SEC's been horrible.
The thing with the Pac-12 and like making the playoff is they've beat up on each other. So curious to see kind of who can come out of that on top with like one quality loss or maybe even undefeated, because it's very deep this year. A lot of good teams. I don't know how many are in the top 25 right now. It's got to be like 6 or 7, and they're all pretty legit. So really interesting conference in its final year.
It's crazy to think.
It only
now,
took this
I
long.
got to turn to Bomb. I got to turn to Bomb. Bomb.
What are you looking for, Maniac? What are you
You're
looking
wearing,
for? 7:30?
You're wearing the gear.
Bomb day.
Bomb day. Ryan Day. Bomb day. Well, I got to ask you, Bomb.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me your lock. 7 o'clock games, Saturday night.
You know where I'm going, Maniac. 7:30 p.m. Some are calling it the game of the week. Not me. I'm calling it game of the year. Ohio State coming into South Bend. Notre Dame is getting 3.5, and everybody wants to talk about last year's matchup at the Shoe. Notre Dame, I believe, covered that game. They were getting a ton of points. They were in the game. They were feisty.
First half.
All of this with the quarterback who just got benched by Alabama, right? That guy was the bum who was playing on the road at Ohio State. So I know 2 different teams, 2 different rosters, 2 different quarterbacks this year. And that's what I want to talk about here, Maniac. Let's start with Sam Hartman. Since 2020, and I've done some research here. I don't have stats, guys. I do this digging myself. 2020, Hartman's been a home dog 5 times. Count them all on one hand. He's 3-2 against the spread. He's 1-4 straight up. So, Maniac, you're probably like, what are you talking about here, Bomb? Well, hang on. Let's
yeah. What does it have to do? Wake Forest.
3-2. What does that even mean? Let's talk about the opposing quarterbacks in those 5 games. Trevor Lawrence, Kenny Pickett, DJU, Drake May, Hendon Hooker. Those are NFL guys. Who the hell is Kyle McCord? All right. Prolific high school career. But let's be real, Maniac. I mean, if the prep had you chucking the ball up to Harrison and handing it off to Swift, I mean, and I mean this with all due respect, you would look like maybe a little rounder, a little shorter, maybe a little slower version of Russell Wilson. I think you could have managed that offense, Maniac. And I mean that with all due respect. And I happen to like McCord. I'm rooting for the kid. I hope he goes on to do big things. But is he going to go to South Bend and like hang 30 on Notre Dame? I don't think so. And if you could just give me 1 second, I want to talk about a guy here. He's the first legitimate Heisman candidate at quarterback for Notre Dame since
He broke it out.
Joe Montana.
He broke
He's
out
gonna do
the
it.
jersey.
He's gonna do it. He's doing it. Oh!
It's young Corso.
Since Brady
Young
Quinn.
Corso.
Okay, since Brady Quinn. Additionally, okay, here's another fact for you. Notre Dame is rocking the green jerseys and the green pants. A little bit of a different green than what I'm wearing now. It's like lime green, okay? Let's go back to McCord. What does he know how to what kind of color scheme does he know to beat up on? It's the navy and the gold from LaSalle. Well, guess what? Notre Dame's not rocking those colors. Take the Irish, take the points. I'm going to sprinkle some on the money line. I think this is just who's the better quarterback? Go with the guy who's tested.
Hey, that's how I like to bet these games. I like to look at who's got the better quarterback in college football and go with that guy. That's just, I try to keep it that simple. I really, really like the pick, Bomb. Now, I got to ask you this. There is a future wager on the BetParks app. Notre Dame to go undefeated. If they win this game, you're sitting pretty. I think it's at plus 950 right now to have an undefeated season. Are you willing to go out on that limb right now? Notre Dame, undefeated. Let's hear it.
After you just hyped up the Pac-12 in their final year, I mean, we still got USC on the schedule here, Maniac. All right, I thought we were talking about Williams, the big Heisman candidate, but I'd be willing to sprinkle it. I actually think this is the best shot for Notre Dame to take a run at a national championship. They finally have solved the quarterback situation. You look at the slop they threw out there last year with Buckner and the sloppy offense that Reese was running. I'd throw some bucks on it. I like it.
Wow, you got him going undefeated. Let's do it. Let's hit the books hard. Notre Dame undefeated season. Notre Dame outright against Ohio State. That's where I'm going with this one too.
The undefeated season, I think, is a long shot. But if you got a little extra pocket change, why not? USC, I think they have Clemson. I think they have UNC, who's pretty solid.
Who's Clemson? Who the hell's Clemson? We're just talking about Clemson.
Come on.
We're going to find out on Saturday, but I think Maniac's on the right side there. I think you look at Dabo and his hate or disdain for the transfer portal. He just hasn't adapted, and you saw what happened against Duke, and I think it could get ugly on Saturday at home.
That line is very, very strange to me at only 2.5.
So I said
after
that
how
too.
Poor they've looked.
I said that too. It's a very, very strange line, and they're at home and the spot and everything. But it's early in the year. I just don't know if these experts are catching up to what's going on. So you might be getting the Seminoles at a discount. They got big receivers. They got the big athletic quarterback. It's the strength of Clemson is their secondary, and Florida State has these big guys that can go get it, and Florida State's got them at every other spot. So that's I know it's fishy, but I don't trust Clemson anymore. I just don't. They've been in so many of these spots ever since Trevor Lawrence left, and they've come up so small.
And I'd add, Maniac, I think that BC game threw some people off the scent with FSU.
Really?
And in my mind, that's a classic look-ahead game to a tougher conference opponent in Clemson. So I would have no qualms with throwing a ton of cash on FSU.
They do say that it's hard to play up there, Boston College. So that does kind of play towards the Clemson line because there's no place harder to play.
And didn't they play the week, like we're talking about the week after 9/11, Boston College has the man in the red bandana thing going on, in memoriam for him. Army had a big game last week. So there's a lot of things going against Florida State last week, just given the circumstances. So, I love them this week.
Now, there's one game that we haven't touched on yet, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this one. I faded Prime against Colorado State. Came out on the
wait.
right side.
Let's start with Nebraska.
Hang on a minute. Do I get a prime time pick? You want to go to
Wait,
prime?
did I
or you
totally
wanna go to
skip your prime?
time G?
I totally did.
Prime time.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Gee.
You're talking about tough places to play and the toughest.
We're
places
gonna
to
edit this
play.
all together. I gotta intro it. Gee, I gotta hear it. What's your prime time pick Saturday night college football?
Do you think I would take the opportunity to come on this program and not talk about my alma mater and the toughest place
That's
to
probably
play
why I almost skipped you.
in college football? We're going to Happy Valley Saturday night, 7:30. It's going to kill me that to watch Penn State, Iowa Saturday night and have Notre Dame, Ohio State either not on or on a smaller screen. Maybe I get down to the sports book at Parks and we get multiple screens going. We'll have to see. But that's
No better
definitely
place to watch it.
great option. Penn State, I think they're laying 14 or 14.5 at the moment. This team is a covering machine in September under James Franklin. You know, he always waits till October and November and it's cold and you're bundled up and you're sitting in your basement feeling great about the season. And then it totally goes haywire. Not yet. I think Penn State's 9-0-1 against the number in their last 10. Like I said, they dominate against the number in September. And again, 3-0 against the spread to start the year, covering by an average margin of 6 points. And I look at this Iowa team that's coming in. Yes, they're ranked 24th in the country. They're going to be down their top 2 running backs and their top pass catcher in the tight end, Lachey, and they have Cade McNamara. Everybody knows the viral clip of when Michigan went into the whiteout with McNamara and Mo Bamba's bumping, and the first play of the game, they got to burn a timeout. He's going to be dreaming about that all week, or you want to call them nightmares, whatever. But it's a low total. I don't know if Iowa scores 13 points in this game. I'm going to be completely honest. I love the Penn State defense, the secondary. They've given up some big runs early in this year to some not so great opponents, but the secondary is great. And I think offensively they'll get it done. They'll have to grind it out, but they have 2 of the best backs in the country, in Allen and Singleton, and Drew Aller. He made a huge throw before halftime against Illinois to demonstrate his arm talent. He played under the bright lights at home against West Virginia. He got that out of the way. He played last week on the road against Illinois, got that out of the way. He's going to be ready to go. Might be a coming out party. I love Penn State, and I say that as a honk and as an alum and as a fan of the program. It's September. I'm all in this time of year every year. And I couldn't be more all in on them Saturday night against this Hawkeyes team, who has an offensive coordinator with a stipulation in his contract.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that.
25 points a game. They're not going to score 13 on Saturday night. I know the total's low. It might be an ugly game, but I think Penn State will get it done and cover that number of 14.5.
Wow. I think that's so interesting with the offensive coordinator stipulation in the contract. You saw them running up the score last weekend. It's interesting.
It has to be done, but that just goes to show that
never heard of that before in my life.
The temperature or the state of that Iowa offense and the program. And I guess, the head coach can be a little harder on the OC when it's his son and they can do that kind of thing. But it's like you said, totally unheard of.
But if you're the athletic director, why don't you just say, listen, Kirk, fire him. Otherwise, you're fired. I don't understand why we got to put him on a freaking a point pitch clock. Like, what the hell is this?
We got the offensive coordinator on the pit plan out in Iowa. What's next? What's next is we got to talk about this other game we kind of avoided. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. I faded Prime last week. I've been fading 3 weeks in a row and the week before. It took everything in me to take Colorado State with the points. First quarter, first half, the game. I was live betting a money line. What is going to happen in Eugene, Oregon, when Colorado and Prime show up to play the Bo Nix-led Ducks?
Well, I guess I went last for prime time, so I'll go first.
Go ahead.
For Prime. It's been fun. It's been real, or what's the saying? It's been real. It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun. It's not going to be real fun for Deion Sanders and Shader and the Buffs on Saturday afternoon. They obviously lose Travis Hunter, guy who kills it on both sides of the ball. He's out 2 to 3 weeks after taking an absolute lick in that game against Colorado State. I think this Colorado team is pretty good on paper, right? And pretty good with the starting 22. But once you dip into the reserves, I think they fall off in a big way. And I think their offensive line, is starting to struggle a little bit. Haven't played a front like Oregon's. You think about Dan Lanning this summer talking about Colorado going to the Big 12, and he said, "Oh, wait, well, what have they won? It's insignificant. It doesn't matter." And every week this season, Coach Prime has gone out in the media during the week to make something personal, to point something out about the other team, a player, a coach. You haven't heard any of that this week. I think he knows what's in store. I think the Ducks win huge on Saturday and put a silence to this Colorado hype train.
Bomb, what do you got?
I hate to disagree with Jay, but this was the same guy who was on TCU week 1 as Dion took the boys down to Fort Worth.
Facts.
And just took it to him. I have one rule in gambling, Maniac, and G knows this rule. And it all started when this guy was named the starting quarterback at Auburn, and he comes up to Happy Valley to play in a whiteout. And the week of the game, he's doing an ad on Instagram for Bojangles Chicken. Okay. And, I love Bojangles Chicken. Before, instead of practicing or doing anything, he got run out of Auburn, even though his dad was the quarterback there. Tell me how many other guys go on to play at their dad's alma mater and get run out of town.
They could put him on a pip.
Put him on a pip. Yeah, put him on a pip. They ran him out of town. And I'm supposed to believe now he's like a Heisman candidate? Dude, the guy's a bum.
I can't.
Don't give me. Go ahead.
Bo Nix is terrible.
Terrible.
He's got
a
terrible
stupid haircut. The only reason you think he's good is because Oregon has awesome jerseys. That's it. That's the only reason why. You stick him back in the Auburn jerseys, he's a bum. All right? So I have one rule in gambling, and that rule is do not bet on Bo Nix. So I will be taking Colorado. Gee, your comment on Dan Lanning. I got a problem with Dan Lanning. He made all that. What have they done? I don't remember them winning anything in the Pac-12. Well, what did he say this week? Here's the quote. Wasn't talking about Dion's team, end quote, when he said Colorado hadn't won anything in the Pac-12. He's already walking it back.
Wow. He might
Prime is, dude, are you kidding me?
He watched that tape of the first 3 weeks, and he's walking it back.
He's walking it back.
I didn't know that.
That's the Bo Nix effect.
So everyone's going to say Hunter's out, the great two-way guy's out. I think this team gets a lot of juice. That kid was cheap-shotted. I think they're running on fumes, but it lasts for one more week. They at the very least cover this. Take the points.
So that's going to bring to me my opinion on this game. So I've been fading Prime 3 weeks in a row. One thing that I noticed from that game last Saturday, Colorado State was manhandling these guys. They looked way bigger, way more physical. And that's Colorado State, a Mountain West team. What is Oregon going to do to these guys?
You're using your noggin, Maniac.
I think Bo Nix stinks. He's terrible. And I'm with you, Bomb. Never bet on Bo Nix. Never. Never, ever, ever. He's burned me before. I've learned the hard way. They're not going to win. That's for sure. But 3 touchdowns? 3 touchdowns? And Bo Nix? I think this game's going to be a little bit closer than 3 touchdowns. I'm probably going to stay with this from this one, but let me get Colorado plus 21.
He can't stay away.
I can't stay away.
You might be on the wrong side of Prime every week if this goes. This the
this
other
will be
way.
great. 4 in a row.
You could have just
not gonna
opted
be
out
4 in
and
a row.
taken the over, man.
I just don't trust Nix. He's going to run around. I don't think their offense is going to do too much for Colorado, but
Total sitting at like 71.5. Could be
yeah, let's go
fireworks.
under. Let's go under.
Wow, dog in the under. It always
Dog
lines
and
up.
Let's go under and take the 21 ports.
Are you discounting Shador getting advice from the GOAT this week, Tom Brady, on the Let's Go pod? Did you hear that?
I did. I did.
Fantastic.
Stay out of your Rolls Royce and get in the film room.
Get your ass in the film room.
It ain't going to put 20 pounds on their linebackers and 30 pounds on their D linemen. That ain't going to play. I think they're going to lose this week, but I think they cover the points.
It's a lot of points.
Well, gentlemen, hopefully this is the first of many. Thanks for coming on today. Thoughts from the Shade podcast. Go check them out on Apple, Spotify. These guys do God's work. You're giving out winners. Let's hope we got some winners for Saturday. Bomb, G, thanks for coming on. And who knows, maybe we'll see you next week.
Yeah, would love that. Appreciate it, Maniac. And as I like to say, go State and go Birds.
Thanks for having us on, Maniac. Great time. And let's get you on the right side of a couple bets this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take some of your guys' picks. Maybe I'll just fade my own picks, and I'll come out, 9-0.
I love it.
It's going to be a good weekend.
It's going to be
positive vibes only.
Incredible
PBOs,
weekend.
Baby.
Incredible
PBOs.
weekend for college football. I don't even know how we're going to deal with a whole full slate of NFL games the next day after that. I might be burnout, or I might be up $10,000.
Good
Let's hope it's the latter.
Good weekend to be horizontal.
That's it. All right, man. Good shooting the shit with you, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks again, Maniac.
Thanks,
Later,
Maniac.
boys. All right, guys.
That was awesome.